Okay, what's up, people? Welcome back to another stream. Hope everyone is doing good this morning. As always, guys, a bunch of markets to get through, some interesting updates on some of the USD pairs and some of the indices, which I am currently watching at the moment. As always, if you do have any requests, any pairs you're looking at, feel free to drop it in the chat. We'll, of course, take a look, take a deep dive. If there's any markets you're looking to trade or any particular instruments you are interested in, let us know, and of course we can take a look and discuss. Or of course, if you have any other topics you want to discuss, let us know. Raphael, what's up, my man? Hope you're doing good. Dollar CHF, USD CAD longs. We can take a look at that. In fact, we'll go through those first. We'll take a look at the USD side of things first, and I'll run through those markets as well. What's up, Replay? Hope you're doing good, my man. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing good. As always, guys, if you're enjoying the content, drop a like, subscribe. All that does really help out. Without further ado, let's get involved. So we'll start with the DXY, and then I'll go to dollar CHF and dollar CAD. Good t-shirt. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Had this for a while, but yeah, it is one of my favorites. So yeah, in terms of the dollar, nothing's really progressed since the analysis I posted on the weekend. If you didn't catch that, I basically said DXY is in a major range. So we've got equal highs and equal lows. We haven't really seen much progression with a move to either side of these areas, which is really where the decision and the opportunities do come into play. Opportunities within the middle are always going to be limited, are always going to be less valuable, because this is where the majority of the noise will be, and the opportunities is just more open-ended. Opportunities are not high quality. If price is rejecting the high of the range or breaking out the high of the range, of course, that's going to be more significant and provide more opportunity, more risk reward as well. So taking that with a pinch of salt, but we have effectively broken through structure here. Momentum's picked up, but we are struggling at some key resistance here. Price support turn resistance. So it could be a situation where the DXY has a bit of a breather before potentially seeing some more upside on a retest of some structure further down. Now, with this shift in structure, with the break of this high, I am slightly more bullish on the dollar, but it's not to a degree where I'm looking for a lot of opportunities to long the dollar. One thing that I think is quite important is to have different grades of how bullish or bearish you are on a particular currency or a particular market. For example, you can be bullish, but just not bullish enough to take a trade. And that's kind of the situation where I find myself here for the dollar, which is, yes, the market shifted up. This bearish structure has ended, but it's not a situation where we're in a bullish trend or market conditions are favorable. The market is really, really noisy if you just look at it in the bigger picture. Yes, if you drop to like a 4-hour chart, it looks a lot more bullish there, but don't let that lead you astray. Lower time frames is just looking at the same thing, just a bit more zoomed in. So just because you're more zoomed in doesn't make it any more bullish. So yeah, I'm leaning to the bullish side of things of dollar, just not to a degree where it's of huge significance where I'm looking to play some trades. There is one USD pair which I do like, which I'm still waiting for a bit more development before some opportunities can come into play. We'll go through that shortly. But yeah, I'm favoring USD strength, just not to a high degree. Dollar CHF, this one is still stuck in the range, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, we are. So we got more or less equal lows down there. You got not really equal highs, but this is what I would say is the high of the range. Not equal highs because price, of course, hasn't come back to retest it, but that's a significant high. That's a high I would focus on. For the most part, we have been producing lower highs here. So that is one thing to take into account. As price does come back into structure here, there is that possibility of another lower high forming and another run back to the low of the range. So is this a great time to be buying dollar CHF? Not in my opinion, not at all. Is this a good time to be selling? It's coming to a positionally smart place for a sell, but price action is not really giving us opportunities to take a short. So if I drop lower time frames, we're still seeing higher highs created. I would like price to fail at a high first, and then we can look into some shorts there. Again, it's not the best opportunity because we are quite flat and the market can just turn into a bit of a range. There's no need for us to see an aggressive move back to the low yet. So if you do take a short, I think just keep it short term, makes the most sense. Price doesn't need to come back to this area. It could start to consolidate. It could turn really, really messy, or of course, it could break higher eventually. So, dollar CHF, I would have a slightly more bearish bias in terms of where we're coming into and how price is moving structurally. Is it ready to be shorted? No, we're not really seeing any signs of that happening yet. Which again is a bit of a contradiction from the bullish bias we got from the DXY. DXY is hinting slightly bullish, but USD coming to a more bearish territory. So again, you're getting these conflicting situations. And a big theme, like I mentioned in my 2026 video, a big theme which I'm adopting this year, more so than I have done in previous years, and which I want my community to do as well, is to be trading less when things are less certain or less higher quality. For example, if the dollar was looking very bearish and dollar CHF was looking very bearish, and we're pushing to a bearish zone and prices are reacting really well, well, of course, you got a lot of things adding up there, meaning that opportunity makes sense to take. But if you got the DXY pointing up, yes, dollar CHF is pointing up, or coming into a bearish zone. Does it make sense to buy? Does it make sense to sell? No, not really. Not with conviction anyway. It doesn't mean the trade doesn't play out or you can't make a potential profit here, but is it worth the opportunity? Probably not, at least in my opinion anyway. So dollar CHF, I don't see much here, but again, that's something to keep an eye. Let's see how price does react over the next few days. Dollar CAD longs, we'll take a look. New Zealand dollar is actually the USD pair which I want to go through, which I do think is a nice opportunity potentially coming into play, where things actually do line up pretty well. So that's the USD pair which I'll go through after this one. But again, dollar CAD's an interesting one, very bullish over the past week or so. We absolutely had a really big rally breaking back above key support here. And looks like price is coming back into structure on our left. So what does this mean? Is this bullish move here, price shifting in structure, and now it's time to buy? Or is this just another pullback for price to head lower? It's a bit of both, but again, similar to the dollar CHF situation, I wouldn't be looking to buy dollar CAD. Number one, we've already had a pretty stretched move, so buying now would be kind of structurally late, unless you're looking for a very small move. You're looking to buy and then get out of that position pretty much within the same session. Okay, intraday, that's different. If you're looking to hold a trade for more than a day, I don't think buys make the most sense here, as we'll come into some resistance and we're actually rejecting that level. Could there be some downside here for dollar CAD, just some short term? Again, we don't have to predict a huge move here for dollar CAD. We don't have to necessarily predict this sell-off or predict this recovery back to highs. What can we predict? Well, price is coming back to resistance. It's a little bit stretched. Is there possibility for a bit of downside here, maybe for a couple of days? Yeah, there is. Similar situation to dollar CHF. So I would say dollar CAD's in a bearish area where shorts do make sense. It's just we're probably not getting the opportunity to actually execute those shorts just yet. Structurally, the market is still pointing up, and of course, structurally, we could still break through this, and we can avoid a loss by not getting in too early. So what I want to see is multiple signs of price fading here, potentially looking for price to break lower through some key support to indicate selling pressures kicked in. Then the first pullback after that would be something to look for a short, and then we'll see how far that goes. It might last for a session, it might last for a day, it might last for 2 days, it might even swing us back to these lows, but that's kind of where your your trade management comes into play, of how long you want to hold that trade and how much are you looking for. So I want to see a bit more evidence of us failing and then us breaking lows, and then the first pullback on the short would be the opportunity. And then, of course, beyond that, maybe price dumps, maybe it recovers, who knows. So I do see opportunity for dollar CAD shorts, but again, similar to dollar CHF, it's not a big potential. We're still seeing price, maintain bullish areas here, still showing conviction, even though we had such an aggressive sell-off. It hasn't really led to much. So dollar CAD isn't structurally positioned for a big sell. It isn't structurally positioned for a big buy. So just keeping it short term is really where the edge is. But yeah, in terms of New Zealand dollar, that's the USD pair I like. Why do I like it? Well, we do actually have a persistent trend at play. So the current situation is short New Zealand dollar, long dollar. Of course, we've just seen DXY gain some strength recently, breaking through highs. So we're looking at a stronger USD at the moment. Doesn't necessarily mean USD will continue being strong, but at the moment, that's the current situation. It's going to take some force for us to break the high, and that's exactly what price did. So we've got some incentive to say, okay, USD is becoming stronger now. And of course, if USD is becoming stronger, well, that could mean the continuation of this bearish trend back to lows. We've come back into the trend line here. Potentially price is looking at forming another lower high. If that is the case, then we do have a pretty decent trajectory back to lows with a pretty decent, risk to reward opportunity there if it does play out. So the reason why I like New Zealand dollar to the downside is because it makes sense. We're seeing USD line up with that bias, and the risk reward makes sense as well. The reason why I'm not in a position just yet is because we are very very corrective, and I kind of want to see a little bit more force to indicate that this move is actually in play. At the moment, it looks quite corrective, and I could see price just consolidate here, maybe even reverse or just kind of ruin the opportunity altogether. So I want to see a bit more force to tell me that this move is in play, and then I'll find a pullback somewhere to ride it into lows. I don't have to get the best entry or or the highest entry possible. Typically, that's where things are most dangerous. Of course, the other side of the coin is that's when you get the most return on the trade. But again, it's not necessarily about getting the most return on the trade. It's about taking smart trades, because you could take a trade that has good risk reward potential, but if it never plays out, then what's the point? So you need to make sure that you're taking trades that are aligned well. And New Zealand dollar could be one of them. I just want to see a bit more intent to the downside. And then I think shorts look good. And then a push back to 0.558 is roughly where I'll be looking to see if I can take some profit. So New Zealand dollar, I do like a lot. Downside opportunity is real. What's up, CS? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing good. Samantha, good morning. Hope you're doing well. Hope everyone's doing good and having a good time in the markets. If you are trading or if you're just staying on the sidelines, being patient, that's just as important as well. But yeah, New Zealand dollar is my favorite USD pair in terms of the downside opportunity, because it makes sense structurally. We've had a bearish trend at play. Could that possibly continue? Absolutely. We're failing to create new highs. We're failing to break out this channel here. Momentum is looking a little bit tired, so that's my only worry, and that's why I'm waiting for a bit more conviction lower before taking any shorts. But if it does come into play, we've got some meaningful downside targets. So risk reward, even if you're not getting at the best price, is still looking pretty decent. So New Zealand dollar looks good. If you're looking at pound USD, this is a situation where we could form another lower high. So of course you got the high there, which gave us this move, and you got this high, which gave us this move, and you got this high, which again potentially could give us another big downside move. So there is opportunity there for pound USD too. But again, is it something of high probability? I wouldn't say just yet for pound USD. I would say New Zealand dollar is the smarter move, because there's actually more evidence of bearish trend actually happening, whereas pound USD is a little bit more kind of choppy, arguably a bit of a consolidation, to be honest. So yeah, there could be some downside there. Just conviction is not optimal. So I'm keeping an eye on pound USD. We've come back to test lows here. It looks like it's still holding. I would say if pound was to break the lows with conviction, now that will be interesting, and that could be the trigger to actually start us trending lower back to these lows. But at the moment, it looks like price has come back to test support. It sort of broke through, but sort of still holding. So it's kind of 50-50 right now. And to be honest, this uptrend could still very much be in play. So I think shorts are still a bit premature with pound USD. And I would still say they're a bit premature with New Zealand dollar as well. But the opportunity is something I'm looking at. So we'll be keeping a close eye. What's up, CS? Hope you're doing good. I'm good. Caught the lows on DXY. Nice. Just riding the wave. Yeah, looking pretty good. I can't say. I can't lie. Looking pretty good. We've seen a couple nice closures on the daily. A nice closure last week's candle, really showing some momentum coming to play. As I said earlier, we're coming back into some resistance here. So this is really where I'm keeping a close eye on the DXY. Can we break through? Do we just have a slight reaction, then break through later? Or is price actually potentially stopping here? We'll have to wait and see. But a beautiful move to the upside, breaking through highs. The way I see it, price is just kind of just back and forth oscillating, really. We've got the highs of the range up here. We've got the lows. These are really the areas which I'm interested in, because I would say these are the areas which will make or break trends or start trends. For example, if price breaks the high, well, we could see something like this form. If price respects the high, then we could see something like that form. So either way, whether we get the break or we don't, there probably is a big move to happen from that area. Or at least a pretty big move. Even here, we didn't actually see the full move there, or at least not yet. But still, you got a pretty decent move to the downside. So those are really the areas which I care the most about with dollar, and that's really where I'm going to have the most conviction with any USD trade idea. But yeah, at the moment, really nice bullish move. Let's see how long that does last. But if we can break through 99, then I don't see much stopping us from hitting 100. So yeah, if we can break 99, we're looking really, really good for USD buyers. Not so good if you're a seller. Replay, what's up? I'm looking at BTC. Okay, we can have a look. And Euro, okay. Euro waiting for the break in rare retest. Okay, and see retest order in order to enter. Okay, cool. Haven't taken any trades yet this week. Fair play. Good discipline, my man. Good discipline. If something's not quite right there for you, no position needed. And I think the trick is, especially with trading now, especially online, especially if you like follow trading communities and different communities, you'll see a lot of people trading. You feel like, okay, I need to trade. I haven't taken a trade this week. It's Wednesday. I'm itching. Let me get into a position. That's normally not the best idea. And the thing is, we all know that, but we still do it anyway. So it's a tricky battle to fight. You want to make sure you're only taking good position, which will mean you stay up the market whilst other people are in the market, and you just have to kind of block that out and just focus on your own game. Because at the end of the day, if you place a trade and take a win, well, that win is credited to you. If you take a loss, that loss is credited to you, not anyone else. So it's very important that you stick with your own game. But yeah, we'll go through Euro dollar and BTC for you. What's up, Mercy? Welcome to the stream. Happy New Year to you as well. Hope you are doing good. Yumari, what's up from Ethiopia? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing good. CS, no problem. Happy to help. Stop loss 98.5. Well, you positioned pretty well. CS 98.5, giving yourself some nice room there as well. Hopefully we can break that 99 level for you and see that continuation. But either way, I would imagine you position yourself around here. Locking in some gains at 98.5 is not a bad idea at all. Okay, so we'll go through BTC and Euro. So BTC is looking interesting. Momentum's picked up recently. You can see a pretty strong close there yesterday, Tuesday, breaking the highs here. Now, is it time to get excited for Bitcoin and start looking to long? It's hinting at it. It's definitely hinting at it, but I wouldn't get carried away just yet. Again, breakouts are always the stickiest situation in the markets because most breakouts are actually false. So if you understand that most breakouts are false, then it doesn't make sense to get excited every time you see a breakout. However, just because most breakouts are false doesn't mean you shouldn't get excited and shouldn't pay attention, because the breakouts that aren't false and that actually do happen, provide some really nice moves, as we can see here, and that's really what we're looking for with this move here as well. Price is in a bit of a consolidation. If this is going to be the next low, there is some room to the upside, at least back to this area, just like we had over here, and just like when price eventually broke out of this consolidation too. So there is an opportunity at play for BTC. It's just timing is everything here. Timing is everything here. So with price breaking above highs here, is this a situation where we just long the breakout? You could do, because again, taking the buy now isn't necessarily saying that, okay, we're guaranteed to have a breakout, but it's saying that, okay, if the breakout does come, you still take advantage of it. And of course, if you can have a smart place for a stop loss, maybe below the level or below the candle, your risk reward still makes sense. And if you do take a loss, okay, it's just a loss. You're not here to win every trade anyway. But the way I would look at it is, can we see a successful retest of this area? And then that would be a smart idea, not because it's guaranteed to play out, but because I can increase my risk reward a little bit by getting a slightly better positioning and still have a good chance that, okay, this breakout makes a bit more sense because now it's at least not entering back within the range. And then in terms of targets, as I've been mentioning, this huge consolidation is basically where I'm looking for price to get to. Not necessarily back to highs, although it's a reasonable shout for BTC. But at least back to the low of the range is kind of where I'm expecting us to get to. So 106, 108K, which again, you can see by the risk reward tool, 4.83 still looking pretty reasonable. And if it does continue back to highs, it could be a lot more than that. So in terms of the opportunity, I think it's definitely something to look into. Ethereum's picking up some nice momentum there as well. I think XRP picking up some momentum there too. So a lot of the cryptocurrencies are doing it simultaneously, which is a good sign as well. If it was just one and then others were not doing it, that would be a red flag. But yeah, I would say BTC can hold 93, 94K. That's a good sign. If you do come back into the range, okay, it was a fake out, we'll wait again. What I would say as well with BTC is that we are starting to become very consistent at respecting these higher lows. So as you can see, if I mark the lows onto the chart, all these lows are being protected. Price is not breaking through. So each low that does form is respecting, and price is now consecutively forming higher lows as well. So what that would mean is, okay, if this is a fake out and price does come back within the range, I would want price now to respect this area. So if it does respect this area and breaks again, that's a sign that buyers are still winning, and eventually I would expect this to happen. If price starts breaking through these areas, that completely invalidates the opportunity. Price is back within the range. We might even see a bearish continuation for what that matters. So it's important that we do respect these higher lows, and that still does provide higher lows. If price does start to break through that, that would be a bit of a red flag, I would have to admit. So yeah, BTC opportunity on the way, I would say. And I would say to invalidate that, I want to see one of these lows being taken out. If that doesn't happen, then I'm expecting BTC to break out sooner or later, whether it's the breakout now or maybe in a couple of weeks' time, who knows. Yeah, in terms of euro dollar, so euro USD, interesting stuff here as well. Not my favorite pair, I must admit, just because again, it's kind of just a market that is range bound really. There's your equal highs, mostly not really again an equal low, because price has to come back to test the low. But that's kind of where I would draw the low of the range. I'd say, okay, price is respecting these areas. We're forming higher lows here still. So as we do come back into this area, I would be careful shorting. Even though we're not really seeing new highs being created, we are still forming higher lows. So it doesn't mean, okay, price has rejected resistance, I'm expecting prices to come back to support. Absolutely not. We're still very consistent with these higher lows here. Formed a low, create a new high, formed a low, create a new high, formed a new low, haven't created a new high yet, but it could be a situation where price comes back to retest some structure before that high is created as well. So we've already had the decent move down, and now that we're coming back into these areas, I would say the short idea is kind of over now. Not that we can't go further, it just doesn't make sense to keep selling the market where we are trading. If anything, there might be some upside. If you are looking for a sell, then I would at least wait for us to come back and retest some structure, which is what I was mentioning on the weekend, which is if we can come back into retest the low around 1.172, this could be a smart place for a sell, back into the lows, and that's your trade there. Makes sense. You're shorting from a structurally bearish area. Makes sense to place your short there. You're taking your profits at an area where buyers can step into the market. You're not asking for too much. You're not asking for a big continuation to lows, which doesn't have to happen. And because we are still forming those higher lows in the daily, the market still has that slight incentive to actually push higher. So you have to take that into consideration as well. Doesn't mean we are going to, but we're slightly more favored to the upside still than to the downside. So as a seller, you have to take that into consideration. So yeah, Euro USD, you said you're looking for a break, the area between 1.16422. Let me map that on the chart. 16422 and 1.1616. 1.1616. Okay, so that's basically the low there. So you're looking for price to break that low for a short, I suppose, and to retest for or to enter. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that replay. I'm not a big fan. Just because of where we're positioned and where we're coming into, because we are making these higher lows. I wouldn't really want to be shorting here. I think personally it's a little bit late. Not that we can't, of course, break the level, retest it, and continue lower. Of course we can. It's just based on how price is moving with these higher lows. If I'm shorting here, I'm shorting in an area where structurally on a daily chart, it actually does make sense for another higher low to form. Even though we haven't made a new high, we could still continue this. And because of that, I would say it's a little bit late, or late for me anyway, in terms of me looking to short the market. I would rather wait for price to pull back and retest areas here and look for the short there. That way, I'm not kind of in this territory. I'm more closer to the sellers. And even this bearish move's had a bit of a breather as well. Again, I'm not saying this is going to guarantee profits or, price is going to necessarily do that. I just think in terms of where we're positioned, it'll make a bit more sense to sell slightly higher up than lower down. So yeah, for that reason, I would be a bit cautious with that. And again, if you're looking for a very short-term trade, you can definitely take some profits there. With the way FX moves, we can react with areas, have a nice reaction, and you can still profit from that. It just doesn't mean, okay, I'm looking for a big sell here. That I would say is quite aggressive because you're expecting price to start breaking through these lows. If you're just looking for a trade that lasts for like, half a day, the London session, New York session, yeah, you can definitely find that on a retest here, a quick short back to the lows, and then you're out. That's what I would say makes sense. Anything more than that, I think you're trying to be a little bit too aggressive. And again, at least for my liking there as well. So the idea makes sense. Momentum is bearish. Price is breaking through lows. The retest of that structure will provide, could provide some nice short-term selling opportunities. It's just I wouldn't try and hang on to that in this area, because even if you do get a nice break and retest, we always have that incentive to have a deeper pullback, even if we are going to go lower. So yeah, short term makes sense. Anything more than that, I think it's a bit of a difficult place to hold a short position. So that would be my analysis there. Hey, what's up, Bashi? Welcome to the stream, man. Hope you're doing good. Appreciate the message. Yeah, guys, if you are enjoying the stream, finding it useful, please be sure to drop a like, subscribe, share with your friends. All of that does really help out, and I do really appreciate it. But yeah, I'll be careful with that euro position. Gold, we can take a look at next as well. I do have a position on NAS, which we can take a look at as well, but we'll go for gold first. Again, on my weekly analysis, I said gold, New Zealand dollar, and NAS 100 are the three markets which have the most potential for some good opportunities next week. But when I did mention gold, I did say there's a situation where we could open up for the week and gold's already kind of gapped up and maybe just shot to the moon. So I said, even though gold looks really good for a nice quick trade next week, because we finished the week here. And I said on the weekend, there's a very high chance now that price is just going to go and take out highs this week. So if gold could maybe start off the week a little bit bearish, that could be a very nice trade to take in the lower time frames. In terms of probability, it would be pretty high. So I said gold looks really good for next week, but then we actually did get the gap up and price just shot to the upside even before London session opened up on Monday there. So the opportunity was pretty much gone by the time I woke up. So yeah, gold looked good. It still is very bullish. It could still go higher. Would I be looking to try and buy it now? No, it's not really in the place where I want to be buying. Not that we can't go high, not that the market isn't bullish. It's just, again, from my position, how I like to trade, I like to buy the dips and then take it back to where the last high was, because that's the trade there. Anything more than this is just kind of hopeful speculation. Because once price has made the new high, this is always territory where we could have a pullback. Of course, because gold's been so bullish, we could still fly, another, God knows how many pips. But I don't really have a target to reference. There's no prior high that price is coming back to retest. This is all just kind of, new speculative moves in the market. So this was a really nice trade coming into the week. Of course, it gapped up and did it pretty much instantly. So there was not much opportunity there. But now we create new highs. I'm not really interested with gold anymore until we have another pullback. And the next area of interest would be this area. Last dip before we had that push. A lot of momentum came from there. This would be an area which I would be interested in finding some more longs, taking it back to wherever the high is. If you're very intraday, you might find some nice dips, lower time frames, like maybe 15-minute, 30-minute, just kind of quick trades for the session, for the day, not looking to hold for too long. You can always leave a position to run with gold because you don't know how far price is going to go. But if you're taking a trade on a 15, 30-minute chart, you're not going to have the intentions to hold that for the week. It's not really the time frame where you're looking for a swing trade for a week or more. Of course, it could lead to a trade that goes that long, but that's just kind of, that was just kind of, how do I phrase this? Not lucky, but it just happened to play out. If you take a trade on the 15, 30-minute chart, you're normally looking to trade for the day, maybe the next day. If it goes for a week, great. Let's leave some positions to trail. This is the market to do so, but that's never really your intentions for the trade. So if you do drop to like a 30-15, again, I recommend buying the dips as well here. I wouldn't necessarily be looking to buy now because we're back at the highs, but let's say if we see another push down, back into lows here, this looks like a smart place for a dip. Another push to the upside as well, which again could last a good part of a day. Anything more than that, a breakout like this is just potential. It might happen, it might not happen. I wouldn't bank on that per se. So yeah, gold, deeper pullback. If you're looking for if you're looking for a bigger swing trade that could last maybe a few days, more than the week. If you're just interested in that kind of short-term opportunity, I think gold is still great because the momentum is just still so strong. Likewise with silver as well. But yeah, knowing which battle you're fighting is very, very important. Yeah, long time no see, Bashi. Hope you've been doing good, my man. Hope you're well. Happy New Year to you as well, man. Happy New Year to you as well. Really locked in the 4% payout. Congrats, Bashi. That's a great way to start the year. Great way to start the year. Again, I think especially because 2026 is a long time as well. And a lot of people are trying to achieve success very quickly, but give yourself the whole year to achieve that success, which means take the best opportunities. Don't take the opportunities which are not worth your time. There's a lot of opportunities from here to December, and of course in future years as well. You don't have to take them all. Take the ones that's gonna pay you, of course, not in hindsight, but in terms of the quality of the setup that makes sense. And that's really what your focus will be. And the results you're looking for will be a symptom of that. But congrats, Bashi. Keep it up, my man. Replay, no problem. Happy to hear your opinion. Yeah, of course, at the end of the day, it's just my opinion as well, not trading advice, investment advice. Well, trading advice, yeah. But just because I say something that goes against your position or goes against your thesis doesn't mean to abandon it. It's just, that's just my opinion. Take what you want from it, disregard it if you want. And again, I don't want a situation ever to come where someone just completely gets out of trade because I don't like the position. I'm always going to give you my honest answer on a market, on a situation. And yeah, you can take what you want from that, but at the end of the day, you take that trade because you saw an opportunity. Respect that. As long as you're managing a risk, worst case scenario, you take a loss, you take a measured loss, which again is a part of trading, even if you knew everything. I'll go through my position on NAS and then I can take a look at some other requests. LFTJ, what's up, man? Yes, we can go through dollar yen as well. Yen basket, do you see more downside? Good question. We can take a look at that as well too. Hugs down, never see you. Nice little reunion. Okay, so yeah, I did get long on NAS. When was this? This was yesterday. Yeah, did get long on NAS. Haven't seen the breakout yet, so that is a little bit concerning, but still holding the position. I've got my stops 25,317, so away from the noise. And I said coming into the week, NAS longs, gold longs, and New Zealand dollar shorts is where my focus will be. Gold already happened in the first, pretty much hours of the market, so gold off the table. New Zealand dollar still at play, but just not quite there for entries. And NAS, we did have a nice pullback, which allowed me to find a nice entry yesterday. Price did push into highs. I was looking for the breakout. Looks like we haven't got it. So we'll see what price does on a retest. The key reason why I like NAS is that was so consistent with these higher lows. 1, 2, 3, even 4 over there. And because we have that natural obligation for these indices to drift higher back to highs, there is a good opportunity that, okay, as long as we respect these lows, there's a good chance that we will return back to highs. And if you look at the S&P, if you look at US 30, those US indices have made some new highs recently, whereas NAS hasn't. So NAS is lagging behind those two, but we're still maintaining higher lows. So the opportunity for me is to see if I can take NAS back to highs and make it follow basically what the S&P and what US 30 is doing. So that's the idea around the trade. We've got the consistency with the higher lows. We're not back at highs yet. Other major indices have done that. NAS is lagging behind. Can I try and find the opportunity where NAS will catch up with the rest, basically? But yeah, at the moment, price is spending at highs. It's coming back into where I found the entry. So basically to retest that area, let's see if it does hold or not. If it does hold, stay in the position. We're still expecting that larger trend to continue. If it does start to break through this low, doesn't mean that I would be bearish, because technically speaking, I would want to see that low go for me to be bearish. If price was to break through that, then yeah, I would say my bias is over. But if price does dip below but still respects this area, I'll look for a re-entry with the same idea, expecting price to get back to highs. But I probably would put a bit more emphasis on this level in terms of profit taking, because we're starting to consistently fail there, which is not a good sign. But we'll see. So yeah, NAS 100, the only position which looked good for me this week so far. Maybe New Zealand dollar could join the party. We'll see. We'll go through dollar yen and the yen basket for LFTJ. Goals for 26 is simple. Get 5 payouts, very simple, easy, achievable. Unlike 20. Yeah, that's very. I like that framing, Bashi. Don't blow any accounts. I can do this. My capital risk management is king tier. Perhaps the hardest goal for me, but I can. Exactly, very very true, man. I think that's the best way to frame it, is that everyone's looking for hundreds of payouts, but you don't need 100 payouts, because if you can just go for the consistent low frequency payouts, number one, it means you're not going to be risking a lot. That means you're going to be in the game for longer. You're going to keep your accounts for longer, and your payouts will be a bit more measured and more meaningful as well, which is basically what you said there. And in terms of your kind of expectations, I think they're aligning very well with actual reality, because you got two types of traders who are here for the long run and really focusing on maturing and developing the skill and hopefully later in life managing real sizable capital. If that's your goal, then you're looking for consistency, you're looking for consistent approach, risk management, etc. And then you've got the other type of trader who's just looking for the quick payout, prepared to, pay a lot for challenges, fail challenges, and eventually get that payout. And they just kind of, they're here for the buzz, not necessarily for the long term. They might say they are, but the way they're trading, not really. And those are the people who will pass accounts and then fail them the following week as well. So if you have that kind of expectation actually lined up with actual reality, then looking for those type of number of payouts makes the most sense. It'll keep you in the game longer. And if you do get more payouts, it's just a bonus, not that was your goal, which is important too. So yeah, I like the way you're thinking there, Bashi. It's aligned with where you want to be aligned with. If you're trying to get payouts every single week, well, you're going to have to be taking a lot of risk. You'll be taking a lot of trades. Sustainability in trading doesn't line up with that. It might work for a bit, but it's going to come, the wheels are going to come off eventually. Okay, let's take a look at dollar yen, then we can go through the yen basket as well. And of course, if there's any other requests, drop it in the chat and I'll be happy to take a look. So yeah, dollar yen, very, very bullish past 2-3 days. Momentum's really pushed on. We've actually taken out this high here with that wick as well. I do think price is just slowly making its way towards this high here from 2024. 162. We'll see if we make new highs past that, but it looks like that's where price is drifting towards. So I do still see more upside for dollar yen. Is it the best time to be looking to get into some buys? I don't think so, because of where we're trading. It doesn't really make sense here. Doesn't mean we can't break through, but do I realistically want to position myself long here just because I still expect price to get there? Because I will look quite silly if price does come back down and then I've got a buy order here and price has a bit of a retracement. I would say to myself, why didn't I just wait? I'm taking a buy into resistance. I'm being a bit too hopeful with that trade. At the very least, maybe let's see if we can get a closure above this level and then look for some opportunities on the retest. At least that structurally makes a lot more sense. And if I do take a loss from that, I'll be like, okay, it actually had some sense to it. Maybe I just caught a fake breakout, but at least I was in the right direction. It made sense. So if I'm just going to take a buy here, it doesn't make sense at all, especially from a swing trade, from a swing perspective. Again, day trading is always very, very different because you can be in and out in the same day. The direction could be against you, but because the day was bullish, you still make a good return, even if price is going to drop. So the long-term direction isn't so much important. It's more so, is there a good buy opportunity right now for this very moment? If that is true, then yeah, you've got something to trade. If no, then of course you don't have anything to trade. At the moment, we've had that rally, and now we're seeing a pretty aggressive bearish close back inside. So that's not a good sign, really. You don't want price to be showing momentum coming back in, because that lines up more with a fake out and then price recovers, rather than, okay, this is the breakout and now we're having a corrective pullback, which would mean, more upside, or most likely more upside as well. So yeah, I would say in terms of my bias, it would be bullish from a swing perspective, because I'm still expecting us to achieve that level there. Even if price does fail and comes a bit lower, I would just expect to see a retracement for a while, and then maybe on our next attempt, we see the breakout. So long term, that's where I expect price to go. It doesn't mean there won't be any short-term sells. There could be maybe here. If price rejects really aggressively, there might be a short to take over the next couple of weeks. It's just the bigger trade I would expect to push to 162. So we'll keep that in mind for now. Is there an opportunity to take that trade? No. Even if we do get a successful retest here, I just don't think this is the best place to be buying, just because we're trading in that noisy level of resistance. What I would like to see is price to continuously start breaking highs again, and then that would make sense for a buy. And then, yeah, 162 is kind of where I expect price to go from here. But as you mentioned, is there more room to the downside for the yen basket? Is yen weakness still at play here? I would say be careful. Yes, there could be more downside, but the fact that we have now taken out that low just makes it more awkward. The sells for this move here make a lot of sense, because the market is bearish. we formed another low high. Structurally speaking, the market is incentivized to get back to that low. It makes sense for us to get there. Now that we have got there, there is no obligation for price to keep falling because we've already taken out the low. This could potentially induce a pullback. Of course, we could still trend lower, but I don't mean that we have to keep falling within this trend here. It could take a breather for a while, it could consolidate, could have a bigger pullback, and then eventually does continue. So yes, I do see more downside for the yen, just because structurally speaking, that's all price has been doing for quite a while. Even if we do have a large pullback like this, come back into structure, I'll be looking for shorts again. But of course, that is a pretty big move, and you would want to be looking to take some buys in between, of course. So would I be looking for some more downside for the yen? Yes, because the trend's still down. It still looks really healthy, but I'm being very careful now. And if I do see price starting to break structure, I'm going to take that with more seriousness than if price broke structure over here. If price broke structure over there, I'm still expecting us to roll over. If we break structure now, this could turn into consolidation. It could turn into a bigger pullback. So yes, structure still pointing down, momentum still down, trend is still down. Therefore, I still expect these areas to hold. I still expect the yen to predominantly be weak. But if we break structure, that becomes a lot more meaningful. And I'll be very quick to become neutral or even bullish if I need to. So yes, I do expect more downside because the trend's still healthy. But let's keep an eye out on market structure. That's going to be a very, very important guide for us now, because we've done our job. We've had this big sell-off. We've taken out the lows. We're at new lows. So price has done that job. Now it can potentially have a pullback. Maybe it does continue. Again, we don't have the answers to these questions. But what we can say is, okay, because we're at new lows, the trend has less incentive to keep going lower. People potentially bigger plays taking some profits now. Of course, fundamentally, the market can still drift lower for fundamental reasons, not because of price, which is why trend's still healthy. Shorts make sense. But if structure does change, let's keep an eye on that. Okay, where was I? Consistent profitability, escaped all the bad stuff because of momentum. So don't forget, 5 payouts average were still going to be like 2% each payout, which is great. Of course, Bashi, of course. I think it's just looking at kind of the reality, because of course on social media everything blows up and all the kind of the huge successes are highlighted. You see someone who will get like a 6-figure payout, and then you think that you have to align with 6-figure payouts to be successful, when if you can get smaller payouts, they do add up. And of course it depends on the account size you're trading to as well. So yeah, I think just aligning with reality in terms of, okay, what actually makes sense for me to target, not just because it looks good to get a lot of payouts, but what actually makes sense. What can I actually extract from the market? What actually can I extract without damaging my downside? Because what's the point of looking for a big payout if it's going to cost you a lot of accounts and you keep failing? Because you have to keep passing them too. It's not a situation where okay, I blow the account, but I can just start immediately trading next week again. You're going to have to pass another account. Of course, you can buy some instant funding accounts, but of course, they're a lot more expensive. And the risk rules and the parameters to trade those are a lot different than the other accounts as well. So you're going to have to pass it again, which is time consuming and it's going to cost you money too. So you have to look at, okay, what's realistic? What can I realistically target? What can I do that keeps my downside limited so I can actually keep the accounts I do pass, which again, in the long run, is actually going to be beneficial to you. And then, okay, what's my upside based on that? And I think that's really where you want to align yourself with. And then, of course, the bigger payouts will eventually follow, but you don't want to strive for them immediately. Just how before prop firms, everyone's looking for a huge account flip from $100 to 10,000. For every person that does that, there's probably about 50,000 who fail. So, and of course, social media will show you the person who successfully does the 100 to 10,000, and therefore everyone does look to try and replicate that as well. but social media doesn't highlight the other 50,000 people who tried to do it as well and lost everything. So I think that same situation is applied to payouts too, which is where people kind of misalign with that. So yeah, I think that's a very important aspect. What's up, Yoshi? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing good. Raheel, what's up? New Zealand yen. Yeah, we can take a look at New Zealand yen for you. No problem. 2 to 4% is fair. Yeah, I'm professional. I would agree. Exactly. 10% was never professional. It was never professional. Yeah. Change me capital preservation. Of course. Exactly. I think you just need to align yourself with your long-term goals. If you can assess what your long-term goals are in trading and then work your way backwards to where you are now, I think that's really way how you're gonna align yourself with what actually makes sense. Because if you understand your long-term goals as capital preservation, limiting downside, and then being consistent on top of that, then naturally those are the type of percentages and the type of frequency you're looking at for payouts. If your long-term goal is just to get rich quickly, then if you work yourself back from that, then it would be a lot of quick payouts, big payouts as well, which of course is gonna eventually cripple yourself, which again we can see all the time. So yeah, I think that's the correct framing. That's the correct framing. And I think one of the big flaws is just that people just have their expectations way too high. And of course, bringing the expectations down is not a good thing. It doesn't feel comfortable. If your expectations were here and you have to bring them here, it doesn't feel good. You want to keep them there. And then you would do anything to justify keeping them there too, which again, over risking, over trading, losing accounts unnecessarily, that will be the sum of that. So yeah, I definitely agree. Anyway, in terms of New Zealand yen, excuse me. So New Zealand yen, probably one of the worst yen pairs to trade in terms of the current situation and the trend. Because if you look at pound yen, Swiss yen, euro yen, even dollar yen, excuse me, the trends there are very kind of clean. Momentum's good. Buying the dips make a lot of sense. New Zealand yen has been one of the yen pairs that kind of lagged behind a little bit. We had this kind of weird consolidation over here. Eventually, price did break out, and it started to trend a bit better. But overall, it's still very corrective, and you can see we're actually fading at highs as well here, which is not great. Which was that? Yeah, that was Tuesday's candle. Massive wick above the high, failing to break the highs. Now, this doesn't mean we're bearish again, because we are still creating higher highs and higher lows, but we are failing at highs, so it does reduce the quality of the long. If price is still creating higher highs, well, the long still makes sense. If we have now failed at creating higher highs, doesn't mean we're bearish, doesn't mean you shouldn't buy, but it just means that your conviction should be lower. The opportunity is not as good because price is telling us we're failing at highs now rather than creating new ones. So if you're looking at New Zealand yen, I still think buys make sense as we come back to this area here. But would I be looking for a huge follow through? No, not necessarily. Not because we can't do that, just because I'm getting some signs that, okay, we're struggling at highs. So what I would look for is some evidence for a buy here, and maybe just a push for a day, back towards highs, look to start taking profits, maybe hold a small position just in case we do trend higher. I think that lines yourself up with actually what price is doing, which is it's still an uptrend, still bullish, still respecting higher lows. So looking for more higher lows still makes sense. But trying to bet aggressively on new highs when we're seeing signs of failure is misaligned and a little bit too hopeful. Again, not that we can't see new highs, it's just you don't want to bank on that. So I'll keep things a bit more short term now with New Zealand yen, because you still got a good trend to follow, you still got healthy structure to retest, but we have less momentum than we did previously. So because of that, you want to be less aggressive, less forceful with the buys. So I think there's still opportunity there for New Zealand yen, but just short term. Keep it short term. Yeah, exactly. I agree. You just set the bar way too high. You take any trades since New Year's during NFP week this week? I've taken three positions so far this year. I had some longs in Aussie Chef, which I have exited. I was long over here. I've taken profits at the high. I was looking for a much bigger move, but we started failing at the high, so I'm out of that position. I was short Euro Aussie for the same reason as well, but I've scaled out that position as well. Momentum's kind of depleted. And then the third position is the NAS trade, which I'm currently in at the moment. So, yeah, since the turn of the year, three positions. Might get intervention. Yeah, that's true. Might get intervention for dollar yen as well. Of course, if that comes into play, things change too. Yeah, I agree. Did you already give us uh, the great? Yes, I did go through. I can go through it very quickly. But I'm not that attracted to gold right now, just because we're just going to make new all-time highs. So the opportunity is kind of not necessarily gone. The opportunity I was looking for is gone, because the trade I was looking for this week was the push back to the high, but that was over pretty much as the week opened up. So now that price is at new all-time highs, I'm not looking for any big trades anymore unless we can have a bigger pullback. I've highlighted this area as an area which I like to see if I can do business in. But the main opportunity I see now is, okay, momentum still strong, trend is still strong. Buying the dips intraday makes sense. Not at the moment, because we're coming back to highs, which we're struggling at. I'll look for a move lower, back towards structure here, and that could be a nice trade for maybe a session or two. So yeah, gold structurally long still makes sense. Momentum still there. Long still makes sense. So let's wait for us to come back to structure. Look to see how we react, and I think buys make sense there. If for whatever reason we have a bigger pullback, well, we got some areas to look into here between 4,500 and 4,400 pretty much as well, which is kind of more so where I'm aligned with. And then the trade will simply just take it back to wherever the highs are. So yeah, gold depends on the time frames you're looking for, depends on the move you're looking for. Intraday, I think there's opportunities, but let's wait for a pullback. We're struggling at highs. I don't think that's the best place to be taking a buy. If you're looking for a trade that can maybe last a few days, well, you need a deeper pullback for that to make it more sense. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with gold. Hopefully, Bashi. Hopefully, Naz is looking quite bearish at the moment. But of course, we'll see. And again, that's trading at the end of the day. You're not here to win every trade. As long as you position yourself with what the market is incentivized to do, that's the most important thing. Trades are going to fail, which is why we got stop losses in place. But yeah, Aussie CHF, Euro Aussie. Again, profits made there. Was looking for bigger targets, but I'm happy with what the market brings. NAS 100 started off pretty well. Looks like we failed at highs. We'll see what we can do coming back into the zone. I will stay bullish as long as this low remains. If price does go and break that low, then my bias is invalid. If price does break below, and let's say it hits my stop loss, but doesn't take out this low, then I'll look for re-entries with the same idea. But I probably would be a bit more conservative at this level here, and probably take some profits, because now price is really starting to react at that level. Now that level actually is a bit more significant, in my opinion. So if price does return and get back there again, I will look to see if I can take some profits, because the market's finding it really hard to break through that level. But again, NAS trends to that play. As long as that remains true, I'm looking for that continuation. So yeah, we'll see how that move does turn out. I'm also keeping an eye on New Zealand dollar. Nothing quite there yet, but I do think there's opportunity here for continuation back to the lows. I just want to see a bit more emphasis before I do take a position. And other than that, to be honest, there's not really much I'm looking at. It was really gold, New Zealand dollar, and NAS, which is what my interest was coming into the week. Gold's off the table already. I'm in NAS. New Zealand dollar's not quite there yet. And yeah, other markets not quite ripe enough for me to take a trade. So patience is needed. Do I have a short-term bias on gold for one today? Bullish, Namzi. Bullish. I can't say what price will do over 1 to 2 days because I can't see the future. What I can do, what I can tell you is what gold, what the regime, what the situation is for gold, which is very, very bullish. So if I was to do anything over the next 1 2 days, it would be looking to buy gold. Doesn't mean that I will buy gold because there has to be a good opportunity that sets up, that provides the entries for me to actually take the trade. But if I was to do anything, it would be look to buy, because that's the current play. So yeah, my bias is bullish, but doesn't mean that price will go up over the next 1 2 days. Maybe the next 1 2 days we consolidate, or maybe we pull back. So yeah, take the information with a pinch of salt. Okay, I will finish up with CAD, yen, and oil. Impulse doesn't look too good. We took the low. We must wait for another push lower to be more confident. Yeah, I would agree with that replay as well, because the low's been taken out. Is this the best time to keep shorting yen? I think the trend is still looking very good. So yes, in terms of price action, but just being aware that things can change. And if they do change, be able to change with it. Because we're not in the predicting business. A lot of people think trading equals prediction. That's completely false. We're in the reacting business, which means price will do something, we react to it. And if something new happens, you react to that new thing. You can't predict the future, therefore you react to what's happening. And then if the future gives us something to react to that as well. So yes, I do agree. Be watchful of the yen. It's still very weak right now. That would still be the play. Of course, as things change, we change with it, which sounds obvious, but that's really the most important thing with trading. Anyway, we'll quickly go through CAD, yen, and I'll finish up on oil. So CAD, yen still looking pretty bullish as well. Struggling at the high too. So again, do I want to keep buying this? Not for any major trades. It would have to be a very short-term trade if I'm looking to take a buy. Reason being, we've already had a big move. So do I want to keep buying this? No. In FX, if I've already seen a big move, I'm not going to be incentivized to keep buying that. I want to see a retracement. FX is not a trending market. It's a market that mean reverts all the time and chops around most of the time. So if you do see a big breakout, a big move like this, yes, we could go higher, but I wouldn't want to be banking and sitting on a swing trade at highs. That's the worst time to get involved. So is this a good time to buy? If you're very short term, yes, because that's where momentum is. That's who's in control of the market. So let's say if we dropped to like a 4-hour chart, I would say if the market can pull back into structure here, I would say this looks like a smart place for a bounce. I wouldn't be looking for anything like this though. This would be bonus. This could happen, but I wouldn't bank on that happening. There's a big difference. And of course, similar to New Zealand yen, price is starting to fade at highs a little bit. We had the previous high, we've come into the high again, we've seen a big reaction down. Not a good sign for the buyers too. So yes, buyers look good lower, just not being optimistic with targets. If you can catch a nice trade for a session, I think that's a good job. If it continues, great, trail some stops, see how far it runs, but I wouldn't be banking on big moves because we've already had one. And in terms of oil, where is oil again? There it is. Oil, interesting. I haven't actually been keep up to date with oil, to be honest. I don't trade oil, so I don't really look at it outside streams, to be honest. But oil is moving very aggressively here, very, very aggressively. So it looks like this low has provided some nice support. There's a pretty big level back over here, which held us for about a year or two. March 2023 held us. We broke through, broke back above, broke below. that could act as some interesting resistance there. That could be where price is looking to travel towards. The key thing for oil is that we've broken through these highs, sorry, and we're doing it at pace too. Now, is this the best time to be buying oil? No. The market's had a big move. You don't want to be jumping into the buy now. That's late. You want price to correct and then see if that move still has fuel, and that becomes the opportunity. So we're seeing some intent now from oil. We'll see if this is the real deal or not, but at the moment, it does look pretty real to me. So what I'll be looking at is some slightly bigger corrections, perhaps some retest of structure around here. I like this area here indeed. If you can see a slow corrective pullback and then some momentum from there, I think that's a smart buy back to wherever the high is. If you're looking for some very short-term trades, you might find a short-term bounce off the high here. But again, you're not looking for anything crazy. You're just looking to trade the current momentum. If you're looking for more of a swing trade, then yeah, I'd wait for something like this. And that would be the trade I'll look for. So yeah, interesting move on oil. But I would need some bigger pullbacks before going long. Anyway, guys, we have come up to the end of the stream. I hope you have found it useful. Found it useful, maybe learned something or had a good time at the very least. If that's the case, please do me a favor, drop a like on the stream, does really help out. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I do go live every Wednesday, 10 a.m. UK time. I will be live again tomorrow, actually, on Nick's stream. So if you do want to see more of me, head over to Trader Nick, his YouTube channel. You can't miss it. I'll be live in the afternoon on his channel as well. I'll be posting the other videos. So if you do have recommendations or videos you want to see from the channel, let me know too. Drop it in the comments. I'll see it wherever, to be honest. So if you have any recommendations, let me know. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great day. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, Bashi, for tuning in as well. And of course, everyone else too. Really do appreciate it. But yeah, guys, have a great day, a great week. I'll catch you all in the next one. Take care.